Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryder, and this is a beginner's guide to Symmetra. In this video, we will go over the abilities and playstyle of Symmetra, so you can kind of jump in and, you can jump into quick play and competitive and have kind of an idea of how the hero works, so you're not going completely. Keep in mind, in order to master a hero on Overwatch, you're going to need to, practice it quite a bit and kind of learn the ins and outs and tips and tricks to it. I'll give you a couple of strengths and weaknesses, some little tips and tricks to kind of help you out. But to really get this character down, or to get any character down in Overwatch, it will require practice, and it will require, multiple hours on that hero to really understand how it works and of it. But without further ado, before I jump in, guys, please feel free to go down below, hit like, subscribe to the channel, ding that notification bell so you know whenever I go live or whenever I send another video out. And please check the description down below where I have the link to my Twitch channel where I stream pretty regularly. But without further ado, let's jump into Symmetra. So Symmetra is a DPS hero who hasn't seen a whole lot of changes going from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2. She has a base health of 225. She has a health pool for a DPS. Symmetra's kind of a niche hero, though. She's not great in every scenario. She's a little difficult to really pop off with unless you know how to work around her. So I'm going to kind of jump into her main abilities here. So the first and foremost is her primary fire, which is her photon projector. Now, it has a primary and a secondary mode of fire. Her primary fire is a straight beam. As long as you hold down the primary fire button, you will keep firing this. Now, here's the thing. The initial damage of this beam is not a ridiculous amount. However, the longer it stays trained on a target, it will tick for more and more as it goes, and it continues to ramp up until you are just doing an insane amount of damage. So the idea is to just keep channeling the beam on things. Don't let go of the primary fire when you are in a team fight. With everything you're hitting, you're doing ridiculous amounts of damage. And if you stop firing, then that ramp up damage will fall off and you'll have to ramp up again. That's the main primary damage output in a team fight with Symmetra. She does have a secondary fire, which is her charged shot, okay, as you can see there. Now, that does do a pretty good amount of damage. However, it does have travel time. People can dodge it. The charge up is pretty long. So, I mean, if you want to kind of pick at the team from a distance, you can do that. It does do a pretty respectable amount of damage if it hits, and if it's a headshot, you do quite a bit of damage, as you can see by these things. Now, as you can see, the charge up time is pretty high. You don't have to do it that way. You can also just kind of tap and shoot them that way as well. You don't have to ramp it up the entire distance, but it will do less damage the less you charge it. Secondary fire is really just long range. If you're not in the mix, like right next to the opponents, that's something you can do to kind of pick and gain ult charge. Otherwise, you mainly want to stick to your primary fire. It's going to be your main source of damage output. Now, the other ability that Symmetra has is her teleporter. By hitting the ability, you can spawn a teleporter and choose where it's going to be. This can go up, it can go from point A to point B, drop it down, and then you and your teammates can go through the teleporter. This doesn't last forever. It only lasts for a few seconds before it does fade away. It can be destroyed by the enemy team. You want to be smart for where you plant it. One little trick that you can do with the teleporter as well is you can, well, actually, let me jump into the other ability. You can send turrets through it. Turrets is the main bread and butter of Symmetra, in my opinion. Now, what it is I'm going to show you here because I'm going to set them up right here. Boom, boom, and boom. There we go. To set 3 turrets up at a time, wherever you want to aim at. You'll throw these turrets down. These turrets can be destroyed by the enemy team, so, you want to be smart on where you put them. But as you can see, anything that goes in the path of the turrets will just get microwaved by the beam. These are utter nuisance on bottleneck point, choke points, stuff like that. So if you're playing defense on a map that only has like one entrance point, kind of like Eichenwald, where you have that archway at the first point, great spot. Drop down some turrets. Remember, they can be DPS down. You want to be smart, and you want to not kind of don't group them all together. Kind of like don't group them up like I have them here, because obviously it's very easy to pick them out. They recharge over time, so as you can, if you you know, as you can see, I've already got my 3 charges back. So if one goes down and gets destroyed, I can set another one. Or if your team's moving up, can you know, replace them in a different location. Another thing you can do is you can, you know, place them on the payload, behind the payload, so when the enemy team moves in, they're getting microwaved just by being next to the payload. There are a lot of different spots and ways you can toy with the turrets and make them work. Caution to this as well is, you know, if the enemy team is running a Zarya, you know, she will gain charge off these turrets, so if she bubbles when she runs in, the charge will grow, and she'll be just off your turret damage. So you want to keep that in mind as well. And as far as a little tip with the teleporter, you can send your turrets through the teleporter, and it will post to the closest surface on the other side, as you can see here. Kind of a tricky way to do it, but you can do it that way. And then, of course, you have the ultimate ability of Symmetra, which is her Photon Barrier. The Photon Barrier, you basically hit your ultimate, you select where you want it to sit, far, close, wherever. And when you hit it, it spawns a barrier in between your team and the other one. And as you can see, the enemy team cannot shoot through the barrier. Okay? They will have to cross through. This is a good way to kind of block a bomb. You know, like let's say D.Va drops a bomb on your team, and you drop the Photon Barrier between the bomb and your team. Negate that bomb. Same goes for like a Shatter or you know, a Blossom, you know, stuff like that, a Reaper's Death Blossom. You can do these things to kind of dance in between the barriers, because your team can shoot through it, their team cannot. So it makes it to where they have to chase you in order to do any damage. It's a very nice utility ultimate. It's very, very strong if used correctly. The other, as far as tips and tricks with her, I mean, with her, it's all about trying to remain with the team and know when to get out. Symmetra is not something that's going to survive in a team fight long if she is focused. So if you notice you're starting to get focused, you need to peel out. Now, the thing is, stay next to your tank, stay next to your shield tank. If there's a Reinhardt or something, make sure that you're taking cover behind the shield, using good advantage of cover whenever you're fighting enemies. Don't just stand out in the middle of the field and just channel your beam. You will get melted pretty quick. You want to be smart about this. You don't want to just sit there and just run into the team fight like a psychopath, like you're, you know, a tank. You're going to get mowed down. You will not survive. You don't have the utility for it. As far as strengths and weaknesses, Symmetra is very strong against anything that doesn't have like a focused fire effect. So like Junkrat is a little weak to her because his grenades have to kind of be pinpointed to really hit the turrets and destroy them. Same goes for like Genji, things like that. Sombra has a little bit more focused fire to it, but any damage interrupts Sombra's hacks, so you want to be careful, or she has to be careful and a little bit more aware of where your turrets are when she tries to hack, because if a turret tags her while she's trying to hack, it'll interrupt it. All of these things are things that are weak to Symmetra. I normally like to play Symmetra into things like Genji, because they are anything that's like a major dive hero, Tracer, you know, those kind of heroes be checked, and Symmetra is a good way to check them in place and make them think twice before diving in, because they don't know where your turrets are. And normally the dive heroes don't have a very large health pool, and so when they dive in, those turrets really do affect them and kind of make them think twice before diving in on your healers or on your squishier DPS. As far as weaknesses to Symmetra, things to keep in mind, Winston is a major problem for her, mainly due to the fact that his lightning arc from his railgun is an arcing thing and can just light all of her turrets up in a matter of seconds and destroy them. It really makes Symmetra's hit almost disabled at that point. Zarya, I have already touched on. You want to be careful about, running Symmetra into Zarya because those turrets will feed her charge, which will give her incredible damage and make life a living hell for your team. So all of these things you really need to keep in mind whenever you're running Symmetra. Because, she is one of those niche heroes that are not great for every situation, but when you do use her in a situation, she will absolutely dominate the field if not kept in check. But with that, that is your beginner's guide to Symmetra. Just keep in mind to not be in the enemy team right in their face. Try to play with the back line. Try to maybe circumvent, flank, pick off healers from behind, lay your turrets in smart spots, and utilize your teleporter for your team to get back to a point or back to a payload as quickly as possible, or to get back from a spawn of a team wipe just happened. It's very useful. It's very nice. She's a very strong hero if used in the right hands. If you guys like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think if you have any further questions, and I will see you guys in the next video.